One of the things I try to do is help parents take care of their children. Teaching parents what is good for their children's health, particularly in terms of nutrition. One of those questions I get a lot is about sugar. Parents will come in and say, I feed little Johnny sugar and he's bouncing off the walls. But when I go to my other doctor, they say, oh, that's silly, that really didn't happen, that's just your imagination. I've heard that time and time again. But then parents are like, hey, I know this is true because when I give it to them, they're completely different than when I don't. There are studies out there that back up parents saying there are behavior changes when you give your kids repeated high amounts of sugar, especially when you don't mix it in, say, with other foods, proteins and fats, and the sugar just shooting right into the system. There is a little effect, sends up dopamine. Some of the things that the neurotransmitter, dopamine in the brain, that has to do with cocaine addiction. Also, when you're eating a lot of sugar, can light up that same area of the brain. So there are some that would even connect cocaine addiction and sugar addiction as being very similar. The same parts of the brain, the same neurotransmitters. So how do you deal with your child who already is getting a bunch of sugar? Well, I can tell you, you can lower the amount of sugar over time to develop a child's taste differently. Part of the problem is if they've been getting a lot of sugar day in, day out, cookies, candy, cakes, drinks, soft drinks, their need in order to taste that sugar, they have to have a lot more sugar. That's why when you see these pictures about how much sugar is in a soft drink can or in these different foods, it's huge because we've gotten so accustomed to it that we need high amounts. But speaking as one myself who has taken away that sugar and eating, not that I never eat it, but in much lower amounts and smaller amounts and much more infrequently, you realize when you go back and have a soft drink or something like that, man, you're like, whoa, that is strong stuff. Our kids are the same way. If we can back off the sugar, lower the amount of sugar, if you are giving them something like a cookie and you're baking it yourself, put less sweetener in it or use a different sweetener. Still, those things are going to have sugar. So, using the same amount of honey, they're still going to get a little bit of a sugar rush. Got some other health benefits. But the point is, using less sweeteners, over time, their need for that high amount of sugar is going to go down. Don't give them sugar by itself. There is nothing to slow down. It's just a 6-lane highway straight to their brain and straight to their metabolism. And then, a few hours later, they have that crash. They get all grumpy because their sugar went up and their sugar drops down. So you have both the, 10 to 20 minute immediate effects, and then the 2 hours later, the crash when they get all grumpy and irritable. You can, as a parent, do a great service to your children by just simply lowering that amount of sugar. Doesn't mean they can't have cakes, cookies, but there are a lot of great recipes out there from the paleo world, from other healthy cookbooks, to learn how to give different flavors using other spices, other things that give flavor to foods, so your child develops a taste for healthy things instead of always wanting carb, sugar. We take a child who's small and we feed them the right things over 10, 20 years. Their health when they're 20, 30, and especially if you develop habits that continue in the 40s and 50s, are going to carry them a lot longer with a lot better health instead of dying early or going through suffering chronic diseases when it shouldn't happen yet.